The shot that this week's episode of Danmachi ends on, I think, says it all about Bell and where he's currently at in the world of Danmachi. Everyone more or less assumed that Bell would be a disgrace and be an outcast after seemingly putting the entire city in danger, all for a kill that he was going after, or that was the lie he gave, because had he given the truth, he would have been not even just an outcast, he might have even been killed for his actions. Protecting monsters is just something that doesn't happen. Whether they can talk or not doesn't change the fact that monsters are monsters in the world of Danmachi, at least right now. And to see him just so isolated and honestly pretty broken, he doesn't regret his actions, but he's not proud of them either. He knows he should protect those that he cares for, but the cost is quite severe. And based on the end of the episode, it's not even like this is going to go over smoothly, which honestly, on one hand, I'm really happy about because this should be a pretty insane situation. People probably should take notice, especially those who have grown accustomed to Bell and his actions. Bell isn't the type of person who does things for money. Bell's the type of person who does things for people, or in this case, most likely monsters because they can talk. And while he could fool some people with the goddess's lie, saying I'm in so much debt that this is why Bell did it, the commoner, the people who don't understand who Hestia and Bell's familia are, like, yeah, that will work on them, but the Loki familia, it makes sense that they're picking up on it. So on one hand, it's good, because you get more obstacles and threats for the final stretch of the season, but it's horrible on the other hand, because you just feel like Bell deserves a break at this point. I saw a handful of people last week say that there wasn't a really big sacrifice, because seemingly we have Wine ends up dead but then gets revived. What's the cost? Well, on one hand, first of which, you had Fells who had how many hundreds of years unable to do anything until a true adventurer cried for him and was able to actually grant that magic. So on one hand, you already have Fells, horrifying life, but on the other hand, Bell's literally left with nothing other than a handful of monsters scattered, unsure if they're gonna live, as well as a crushed familia who's about to be crushed even more. It doesn't seem like Bell's familia is going to get out of this unharmed, and I don't know where that's going to lead if we do get a season 4, but the possibilities are seemingly endless. This was such a great episode, and you could consider it to be a setup episode because it does set up the final conflict of this season. But honestly, Aftermath episodes, especially Aftermath episodes where you have something as extreme as an adventurer, destroying a town for a kill, like this should be something that every adventurer doesn't care about money, because if you stop a giant beast roaming the streets, I'm pretty sure everyone's getting a reward in some degree, and had the entire city not been destroyed, I'm pretty sure insurance claims would have been pretty low, so they could have spread the wealth. So there's just no good look for Bell in this situation, and it's nice to actually see people throw that in his face. Bell started out as the lowest of the low. People hated him and considered him to be a fraud and a cheat for how fast he leveled up to level 2. And then with Season 2, he actually got a decent standing in the world. He actually felt like someone who had a lot of respect, and what you typically are used to is if that happens, they continue to get more and more to the point that the Hestia familia would have beaten the Loki familia, probably given a couple of seasons if they continued on the path Season 2 laid out. The clear issue is that this is Danmachi. This is a show where the type of character you thought Bell was going to be got tossed out the window in favor for a really well-developed protagonist. And to the same degree, this is a show where he doesn't get everything handed to him on a silver platter. To have a character like Bell who has an ability that, put in danger, can one-shot seemingly any enemy. This is literally the one-punch man of powers that he has. He seemingly has every female swarm to him at a moment's notice, and he has the absolute worst luck, who has the most genuine of hearts, who just wants to be a true hero who brings about change in a world, and is now literally back to worse when he started out. This is why Danmachi Season 3 and Danmachi as a whole is so exceptionally well written. This show deserves far more praise, and if I could take back what I used to say about this show before I really gave it an honest-to-go shot, I would. This show has been exceptional this season, and I really hope we get more. I don't know where the source material is currently at. I'm sure there's quite a bit out there for another season or two, but hopefully this season is doing well enough in certain areas that it can warrant more, because this really does feel like we've seen so much, but we're about to set up something even bigger and more epic than what we've currently seen thus far. It's just nice to see all the pieces crumble and try to piece back together. I think probably the best way to describe this event and this episode and the aftermath is as if you took a mirror that's 10 feet tall, you smashed it with a sledgehammer time and time again, and then you said, let's try to piece it back together as it once was. And somehow you managed to glue it, staple it, whatever you need to do to hold it together. The mirror looks like absolute shit, but as long as there's no wind or movement, that mirror won't crumble, and it's gonna crumble because you know damn well someone's touching that mirror and it's all gonna come crashing down. Belle has held it together in a very makeshift fashion, but I don't think it's gonna last. Belle is officially a disgrace, and I feel like by the time this season wraps up, Belle is literally gonna be a criminal, and I don't know what that's gonna look like. I do like that his familia stood with him. I think some people may want to argue, well, why should he drag them into it? They are a family, they know what Belle is, and even if they sometimes disagree with Belle's actions, they clearly support his ideals and beliefs and truly feel like he is a leader that they should follow. So even if the ship is going down, I like that they're willing to go down with the captain and the captain doesn't have to go down alone. I just think these types of episodes, they rarely are seen in a show that's seemingly about dungeon crawling, badass protagonists leveling up, getting waifus galore. You just don't get to see that. If anything, you get 5 minutes at best, not an entire episode, to then throwing them back into an even shittier situation. There's a moment with one of the first people who ever gave Belle an honest-to-go shot. You're just seeing an insanely bad situation. You think his entire familia is hating him at this point, and obviously you correct that observation later, and then you get this nice little simple moment where he gets to rest his head on her lap. It gave me a very ReZero feel with Amelia as well as Subaru in that one moment in Season 1. And it's nice because this is a guy who's shouldering so much stress and burden, and he has no idea what he should do, what he should say. He feels like the world is about to implode, and he gets to just rest his head on someone who he trusts and believes in, who doesn't look at him as a criminal, who doesn't look at him as someone to be ashamed of, but is fine walking down the street with. It's one thing for Hestia to do it, it's another for her. And it's so nice to have moments like those that generally are there for those like wannabe fan servicey, bait you in to think there's a romance brewing. But here it just felt like genuine connections, genuine friendship, just being there for you, saying, you know, you gotta remember it's not all up to you to do this, which then goes hand in hand with what I mentioned previously about how his familia really does support him, even though he feels like he screwed over his familia. There's so many just different great themes happening throughout this episode, and for something that isn't action-packed, it's literally walking through streets that are crumbled and cracked and bruised and broken as people look at you and want to throw rocks at your head. It had such a ominously sad tone that every which way you looked at this episode, from characters' faces to the destruction in the world, to the even vocal performances that were so angrily just sad. It was such an incredible episode. The past few episodes, the past month of DanMachi has been in a league of its own, and god damn has this been good. I never thought I would ever praise DanMachi the way I currently am, but I am more than happy to say that I was wrong back in the day, and this is honestly one of Fall 2020's best series. I'm not even ashamed to say that at this point in time, because look at what we've experienced. This is amazing. It's going to be interesting to see where they take the final stretch, but of course, as always, let me know your thoughts and feelings about this setup aftermath episode. Did it hit you as hard as it did me, or did you find it to be a bit of a letdown? If you enjoyed the video, of course, leave a like to show your support, and hit that subscribe button if you happen to be new around here. So until next time, everyone, please take care and have a good one.